Hello, and welcome to another episode of Walk the Dog Cinema. Here we are on a nice afternoon in California, and we almost walked into a car because I'm not paying attention. Sorry about that. It's our next door neighbor, but Roka's been such a good girl. She's really excited. It's wonderful weather here, nice fall, crisp, clean air, and we're just gonna enjoy ourselves on this wonderful walk. And we're gonna discuss another Amicus movie, Tales from the Crypt. And no, not the HBO series, but the 1972 Amicus production, Tales from the Crypt, which actually is all based off of the EC comics, just like Tales from the Crypt. And two of the anthology parts, two of the stories in here were actually redone for Tales from the Crypt. The very first one with Joan Collins in it, and then the very last one about the blind people, if I'm not mistaken, was also done by Freddie Francis, who is the director of this, who actually came and did it's a season 7 episode. Too bad Tales from the Crypt can only be seen on DVD. I'd love to see a Blu-ray release of it, but HBO doesn't have the rights to put it on their HBO Max, and so that's that. But if you can ever get a hold of the Tales from the Crypt series, it's a lot of fun. Robert Zemeckis, Joel Silver, Richard Donner were executive producers of that. But again, this is a pretty good EC Comics. It was written by the producer Milton Subotovsky and directed by Freddie Francis. They brought him back after The House of Drip Blood didn't do as well. So let's get started. So Tales from the Crypt. Still not better than Torture Garden. This one, kind of the big name is Joan Collins. Some of the other actors I'm not too familiar with. Peter Cushing does show up in a great role. This was shortly after his wife's death, so he just wanted to get back to work. It's a very melancholy role, and one of the better episodes of it, stories within this. You also might recognize the cemetery. If I'm not mistaken, it's a pretty popular cemetery that does real tours way back then. I don't know if now in England, but it does also make an appearance in Harry Potter and the Fantastic Beasts, I think either part 2. But the opening shot with the great classical music of this starts it all off. It's really macabre, and suddenly you recognize the cemetery. At least for me, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, that's a cemetery. Whether some of Harry Potter was a set or not, I don't know. I'm just saying that there is some real shots in this that look like the same, or at least the set was designed to be this cemetery. But the opening is a real cemetery, and basically the overarching is it's a tour. These 4 or 5 guests come in, kind of get trapped in the tomb with the Crypt Keeper. The Crypt Keeper's human, and he basically has them see their lives, and you can kind of almost guess the ending. It's a rather okay ending. This one, it is definitely above The House of Drip Blood. I think it's a little bit less effort than even Dr. Terror's on one level. For nostalgia reasons, the stories are kind of, I'm very familiar with EC Comics. And some of these stories, I read them in the comic book form. So that's kind of neat. I actually will say that the remakes are far superior, maybe just from budget. But Robert Zemeckis, who filmed All Through the House, which is the very first one with Joan Collins, takes place during Christmas, and there's like a demented Santa Claus on the loose after she kills her husband, and all sorts of things, black comedy and terror ensue. The remake has Larry Drake. I think the remake is much better. In that one, I think the lady in the remake, Zemeckis' wife, I think at the time, plays the lead in that, but like I said, Larry Drake's the kind of psycho Santa, and it's a little bit more expanded. And this one all kind of comes off a little pedestrian for me for Freddie Francis. He doesn't really go too bonkers with it. It's all kind of straightforward, and maybe because the screenplay was written by Milton Subotovsky. I don't know. I should have looked it up, but if he has too many writing credits, but it's probably pretty straightforward from the comics in that regard. So everything feels kind of a little too fast. They're still fun. It's still worth a watch. I like I said, it's a step above the House that Drip Blood. This was their most popular of all the. It was the biggest box office for them in terms of popularity for this Tales from the Crypt. After this, they do Asylum, and then they go back to the EC Comics with Vault of Horror. But Asylum's my favorite. But overall, I mean, it's a good effort. It's solid. It has great music, great sound in this. The next one also does too, but those are all fine things. So it's all worth a watch. Like I said, the very first one with Joan Collins. The second story is about a philanderer. He's cheating on his wife. He goes out to meet his lover. They kind of take off, and they have a car crash, and ultimately it doesn't make total sense of what's going on here. It's kind of like this weird in-between purgatory kind of thing, loop, where he's kind of a zombie. I mean, you kind of see that right from the get-go. The payoff is kind of interesting. I think that's the least story for me. The third one is basically the monkey's paw. That one ends in such a macabre fashion. I will not give away that one. That ending is gruesome in all its interesting horror glory, I will say. That one is a rather fascinating look at the monkey's paw, and I like the play on it that everybody kind of knows about the monkey's paw, and they still go through with this. It's all very kind of smartly handled, and like I said, it has a really twisted ending. That one is worth the price of admission, believe me. The build up to the ending is absolutely fantastic. That one I don't want to give away because you need to feel that one. It's worth it. And then let's see, the next one is with Peter Cushing. I might have got that order, but that one is a great Peter Cushing acting thing. He's lives across the street from kind of in a rich neighborhood. He's not the richest guy, but he's rich of heart, helps out people around the neighborhood, and it's about a neighbor who basically bears false witness to him and just really wants to take over the land and get him out of there. And in good EC fashion, the perpetrator who is committing the crimes gets his comeuppance on Valentine's Day in gruesome manner. That one's got a nice ending, and that one is all carried by Peter Cushing. That one's a great story. And then the last story is just so. It's about kind of this general. He was like lived in the army. He comes to the House of the Blind, treats everybody like crap, and the blind people take their revenge. That one's kind of straightforward. To me, it's a little too slow paced. The payoff is kind of wicked. I'm not going to say it isn't, but and it's like I said, but if I remember correctly, I'd seen this before, and that's probably where I get it mixed up with the remake of it, which is far superior with the better budget and all that, even though it's done by the same director. It's kind of like he fixed all the problems and did it how he kind of maybe wanted to do it, or had to relook at it. But it's interesting because the lead blind guy in this one is also a rather lead in the next one for Asylum. So it's kind of cool to see how they use kind of the same actors in different light. But That one's an okay one. And then we get the ending, which doesn't really come as too much of a shock. And you kind of see that one coming a mile away, but still a good little ending for the wraparound. And then you get the great music saying it's all over and end. So for me, it's a good watch. It's fun. Like I said, 2 really fantastic stories. One that's good, and then the other 2 are just so-so. But they all kind of run really fast. The whole movie's maybe an hour and 20 minutes, so it gets there. It moves pretty good. Just the last story kind of drags. But overall, worth a watch. I think all the Amicus ones are. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And please subscribe if you really like movie reviews. Otherwise, have a good one, everyone. Take care.